Talking Memphis Wrestling with Randy Hill and special guests.
Hey folks, a very blurry RH, and I don't know how that happens. There I am, clear again. Hey, PJ, what's going on? Andrew Calvin Jr., Thomas Leonard, Gregory White, so many people in the house. It's Randy Hales here, and you know what? You know what, Team Hales? I've said there is no way in the world, Greg Wayne and Ricky Kennedy, there's no way in the world this show could get bigger, this show could get better. But damn, I was wrong. It's got bigger than ever. It's got better than ever. Important people like every one of you, and my friend, my brother from another mother, the great Randy West is in the house. BC Brad Collins is here. Good to see you, man. See ya. And I don't want to be ya, because I don't want to be in North Carolina. I want to be right here. Greg Seaton. I want to be in Arkansas. You are in Arkansas. And that is good as well. Hey, that damn Ricky Kennedy. I'm saying damn too damn much today on this damn show. Anyway, Ricky Kennedy sure has not been around much. Hadn't watched a lot in a long time. I guess he's going to be curious of who I am going to knock here today. And as far as I know, unless one of my co-hosts, and I'll just have one coming up, and the one that I have that will be here today that I'm wasting time for him to be here is Michael St. John, and usually he don't get on my nerves. Usually Chris don't get on my nerves. But I think he tries to get on my nerves. Man, what is going on, Richard Hood? Are you doing all right? You always get nervous when I don't respond to your comments. And sometimes, people, it's the middle of a subject. Sometimes we're doing something and it's just not appropriate to quit doing what I was doing to say hello to somebody. And then I forget. I absolutely forget. Hey, today's show, Talking Memphis Wrestling. Let's see that caption again, Adam, so I can remember what's on this show today. It is a deep dive of Memphis wrestling in 1983. Some news. We will absolutely let you know some stuff you didn't know about 1983. We have great stuff. We will have some stuff from 83. We will begin actually with something that happened at the end of 82. Great highlights of Nick Bockwinkel and Jerry Lawler. And then the greatest feud ever, Bill Dundee and Jerry the King Lawler, the 1983 feud that didn't last but a couple of weeks, that ended up with the greatest wrestling match that I've ever seen live. The June 6, 1983 Loser Leave Town match. We will be talking about that. If we get to it today, we will certainly have some video of the lead up to that drew a sellout at the Mid-South Coliseum June the 6th, 1983. The cool thing in that, the cool thing of that 1983 is that Bill Dundee came into the territory in early 75 as a heel. By summer of 75, he was a baby face, and he was a heel to about March of 1983. He was a babyface until March of '83. So it's very interesting there for sure. Jeremy Gibson is in Evansville, Indiana. BC Collins is saying he loves the early deep dives from the '80s, and I like them too. All right, now before we get to the main event, before we get to 1982 and 1983, I am going to go back a little bit because I want to acknowledge a birthday. Caption, please. Happy birthday to the brother of Rock and Roll Express member Robert Gibson. Rick Gibson. He was born on November the 19th, 1952. Passed away September the 15th, 2006. Passed away at a very young 54 years old. I think we always talked about people that people think they're underrated and that sort of thing. And I'm not saying that to the wrestling business people. Rick Gibson is underrated. He's not at all. We knew how great for sure he was. Hey, Ricky Gibson, happy birthday, man. Now, always Richard Hood throws different subjects up when I'm already past that subject. Why did George Burns and Bill Dundee split up? That's real simple. George Burns got homesick. He didn't really like the United States of America, so he went back home. Dundee felt he had a future here, so he stayed. George Burns, no doubt about it, was great. Let's talk about Rick Gibson a little more because I think this is important to do because his program with Jerry Lawler in 1974 started on May the 20th. It drew 6,300 people, it was up 3,000 people. On May the 27th, it jumped almost 3,000 people again. Lawler, Ricky Gibson, it drew 9,200 people. Then it drew 2,100 more people on June the 3rd. Gibson and Lawler, 11,300 people. Then on June the 10th, 11,609 people. On June the 17th, 11,600 people, double main event, Fargo and Lawler, and a two-ring battle royal, 11,600. Rick Gibson drew a lot of money in Memphis, Tennessee, and there is absolutely no doubt about it. Just crazy, stupid money. Spencer, how have you been? I am very good. Hey, Richard, what's going on? Adam is in the house. Is saying hello to Randy, to Adam, and to all the members of Team Hales. Richard Hood says Ricky Gibson should have been the NWA champion. I don't know if I agree with that. I just don't think that he certainly had the ability in the ring, talking, and NWA World Champions had to also be able to work against baby faces in other territories, and I don't know how good he would have been as a heel. He was just a typical great baby face. I mean, just a fantastic baby face. I want to go to a video. It's May the 6th of, and this is really set up the Gibson Lawler program. This is a six-man tag. On one side of the ring, Rick Gibson, Eddie Marlin, and Tommy Gilbert. Rick Gibson Eddie Marlin and Tommy Gilbert, Randy West, what a team, against the team of Sam Bass, Jerry Lawler, and six-time NWA World Heavyweight Champion, the legendary great Lou Thesz. The very last, this is a production note to Adam, the last video on the video storage side that I uploaded is this 6-man tag, and we'll go back to the Mid-South Coliseum, spotlighted by classic commentary and a great job. This is about 5.
Lawler having just minced a drop on Tommy Gilbert. Eddie Marlin comes in to help out. A tag and Marlin going wild on Bass and Jerry Lawler. Lawler out through the ropes as Eddie Marlin rolls Sam Bass down. It may be a pin, 2, but he missed him. A 2 count. Here comes Rick Gibson in, but referee Paul Morton ushers him back out. A tag from Bass to Lou Thesz.
Look at Lou Thesz. You don't see Lou Thesz as a heel very often.
Lou buggy whips him into the corner. Out of it,
Eddie
and drops on him with a knee across there. And the referee checks to see. Says it's across the throat. He's got a hold of the rope. Tommy Gilbert over trying to break it up. Referee Paul Morton says, let's have a break on it. Marlin down in trouble as Lou Thesz goes to work on him.
The purpose of this match was to get Rick Gibson on.
Hitting on the ropes, pulls him out to the center of the ring with a side headlock.
All 3 guys could sell.
Who comes into the center.
Decided Eddie Marlin would sell in this match.
Drops down on him with that right hand. The referee says, keep that fist open.
Referee Paul Morton
pulls
in
Marlin
this
to
match.
his feet,
As we still wait for Michael St. John, and he's not here yet.
But not close enough.
At 12 minutes after the start of the show, but if we have to do it, we will do it to get this
administered out to Eddie Marlin as Bass is in there now. Drops on him what appears to be a chokehold. The referee calling for a break. Tag back on Jerry Lawler. Gilbert and Gibson both in the corner, too far away to be any official help at this point. Marlin into the ropes. There's that tough top broad arm from Lawler. He drops on him. Count of 1, 2, but Gilbert saves him. Tommy Gilbert in through the ropes. Flips Jerry Lawler off. Marlin still in the ring and in trouble at this moment. Once again, Lawler into it. Ricky Gibson hollering, he made the tag on him. He comes over, nails Lawler. 1, 2, 3, he got him. On a 3 count, Ricky Gibson. There'll be a protest from Thesz, Lawler, and Bass on this.
Watch the
Gibson tagged Marlin as he was popped into the ropes.
Now.
Came over the top of Jerry Lawler. Got him down for the pin of 3 count. Gibson now takes a heavy knee from Lawler. He's boomed outside the ropes. Sam Bass overworking on Eddie Marlin, and there goes Gibson out into the crowd. Lawler threw him down the ring apron into the post, and Gibson, his back is hurt, trying to fight his way back up to that ring. This game, youngsters, not through.
I agree with you, Frank. It is weird
in there with Tommy Gilbert.
To see Lou Thesz
paired off with Marlin and Lawler.
Good point. I agree.
A guy that he's been looking for in Ricky Gibson. He's got Gibson's head split open. Lawler continues to administer the punishment to him. Pounds on him. The bout is officially over with as a pin from Ricky Gibson on Lawler. But Lawler, getting his revenge on him, split his head open, continues to work on Gibson. Lou Thesz still with Tommy Gilbert. Sam Bass on Marlin, and
Gibson had a lot of fire in his comeback. To set up that punch and the big, huge bump. Lawler certainly is a heel, a bumping machine. There is no doubt about it. In a couple of minutes, about a minute 45 left in this video, as you see that huge crowd at the Mid-South Coliseum in Memphis, Tennessee. Wow. Listen to Lance Russell. Yes, you can if I shut the hell up.
Kicking away at Lou Thesz, trying to keep him back. Lawler holds his hand up in victory. No, sir. The referee trying to tell Gibson it's all over with. He better leave it as it is. Lawler going back to the dressing room, but the referee officially holds up the hand of Tommy Gilbert, Eddie Marlin, and Rick Gibson, while Gibson still trying to pull loose from his partners and the referee to go after Lawler as he heads back to the dressing room. A beautiful pin by Ricky Gibson on Jerry Lawler. Lawler got some measure of retribution as he busted open the head of Ricky Gibson, continued to pound him in the ring, and then Gibson kicked him out over the top ropes. And Gibson's partners had to hold him back in the ring to prevent him from going out on the floor after Lawler.
Eddie Marlin,
The official
Tommy
decision
Gilbert, Rick
comes
Gibson,
to the side of
against
Tommy Gilbert,
Jerry
Eddie Marlin, and
Lawler,
Ricky
Sam
Gibson in a
Bass,
great
and Lou
six-man
Thesz.
bout.
We
And that's it,
had
a
watched
sensational
that
bout.
video
Gibson still
before.
taking a look to see if
Just
Lawler's
a
gone. He
tremendous
has.
crowd at the
And the
Mid-South
referee comes over and
Coliseum.
says, "Come over, it gets all for
Everybody
this night." Back to the dressing room. A great bout
on there.
in this victory tonight that
Go
belongs
ahead,
to
Adam,
Marlin,
and put that
Gilbert,
graphic
and Gibson.
up again of Rick Gibson, because we went with that Rick Gibson videotape and that six-man tag match because we are celebrating Rick Gibson's birthday, and there's a graphic we want to show, and we will let you know that Rick Gibson, the brother of Robert Gibson, was born on November the 19th, 1952. He passed away September the 15th, 06 at 54 years old. So happy heavenly birthday to Rick Gibson. Wanted to acknowledge him for sure at the start of this show. Okie dokie, already it's 17 minutes into the show and he's here. It's been a few minutes, it's been a few weeks, it's been a while. The star panel member, my good friend, let's bring in to talk in Memphis wrestling for the show today, to talk before we get into the subject about 1983 and that good stuff. Michael St. John, what's going on with you? What do you think about we're celebrating Rick Gibson's birthday? Just what the hell's going on with you, my man?
Well, thank you very much, Randy. It's been a very trying time around here in the past few days, past few hours, but nevertheless, got to make it. Had to make a quick trip down to Decatur and back. So we got back and swallowed a sandwich and got on the air. First of all, I think Ricky Gibson and people I think have already commented this on the program today. Ricky Gibson is one of the star talents that was up and coming before he was in that car wreck that really destroyed his career. And, when you look at what Robert did, and many people, including myself, thought that Ricky Gibson was probably more gifted than Robert, a better promo on the microphone. Only got to work with him one time, and it was after his wreck, and it was in a sort of a shadowing kind of thing. He was backing up somebody in the corner, but always really liked talking with him, and a very talented athlete. And again, I think somebody whose career was cut way, way too short. If I may, Randy, if I can take 30 seconds. Last night about 11:15, I got news of a very sad passing in someone in my lifetime. The gentleman that started 104.5 in Nashville and Gallatin, Tennessee, Ronnie Bledsoe, who hired one programmer and one programmer only in the whole duration of the time he owned the station. We were the first radio station in America in a top 50 market, can go from outside of a market to number one in a top 50 market. And Ronnie Bledsoe was the man that was the man that owned the station and allowed me to do what I told him I could do to get accomplished what we wanted to get done. And we lost him last night at the age of 91. Somebody that's been very close to me personally since 1978. And anyway, it's been a difficult time mentally for me. And I've had a lot of folks that reached out that were part of that family at Kicks 104 for those 6 years from 1978 until 1984. And anyway, passing of somebody that, you know how it is, Randy, it's sort of like when you lost Eddie Marlin in your life, you feel an emptiness immediately. You feel and you do, but it's also something that you realize that when that person is done, how much that person was valuable to you mentally, physically, emotionally during the time you got to know him. And that was certainly the case with Ronnie Bledsoe. Just a side note, he produced a famous Christmas song. He produced Alvin and the Chipmunks.
Oh my goodness, really?
He produced it when he was with Al Bennett at United Artists Records, and then he had another artist that he produced and had a couple of hits in the 60s named Vicky Carr, and she had With Pen in Hand, of course, and which was written by Bobby Goldsboro, and It Must Be Him. And then later in life, his famous signee, he was the vice president of Columbia Records before he bought Kix 104. He signed two major artists. He signed Mac Davis, and he signed David Allen Coe. So he was a state trooper at one time. He was the private driver for Governor Frank Clement of Tennessee for 8 years. Just an incredible man with an incredible legacy, but it's been a tough one. It's sort of been a gut punch, if you know what I mean.
David Allen Coe, you don't have to call me darling. You don't even have to call me by your name. You don't know much about country music. Do you know that song?
I do. I met David. I'll tell a quick story with Ronnie. Ronnie and I lived about 3 blocks. In fact, he lived about a block and a half away from Jerry Jarrett's house in Hendersonville, next slew over, if you would. And one day we were coming back from Kix 104 out on Highway 109 in Gallatin, and I'd ridden to work with him that morning, and he said, just, I'll pick you up, we'll ride. We got to talk about a couple of things. We'll just ride out. When I come home, I'll bring you home. Okay, fine. So on the way home, on the way to dropping me off, he says, I need to stop by the house real quick. He says, let me run in. I'll be right back. I said, won't take but a minute. I said, okay, fine. So we pull around the curve there on Cage's Bend, and this huge ass bus is sitting in his front yard. I mean, not in his driveway. I mean, in his front yard. And he looks at me and he went, that's that damn David. And I looked at him and he said, and sure enough, we pull up and out of the bus comes David Allen Coe with a pair of torn up blue jeans and a ratted out old t-shirt. And he goes, Ronnie, what took you so long? But he was so pissed that David Allen Coe would drive his tour bus or have his tour bus driven and park it in his front yard. Not even in his driveway, but in his front yard.
That's funny. B.C. Collins is saying, hey to Jazz.
And Jazz is here. Absolutely. Absolutely. By the way, quickly on that video, I caught part of that video. That was a great 6-man tag. And Luthez is a heel. I think somebody's already mentioned it. It was very rare that Luthez in his career would agree to be a heel or do the heel side. And you got to remember that he was the shooter of the shooters. And he took wrestling to him. Wrestling was more than a career, more than a sport. It was not only a lifestyle, but he lived and breathed it. It was embedded in him. And having known Lou and talked to him later in his career, he was serious about it. And he did not necessarily take to the quote unquote heel actions that were being used in the 70s and 80s.
All right. As we are 24 minutes past 7 o'clock, so here we go with our subject of the day. As I said, I didn't think this show could get bigger and better. It's got bigger and better with our comments, with our feedback about this year-by-year review we're doing. Hello, Crazy Gal, what's going on with you? Certainly, we're going, I said it this week, or last week I lied when I said we're finishing up with 82, and we certainly did not finish up with 82, and we'll open up with the last match, the last main event in Memphis of 1982, Jerry Lawler and Nick Bockwinkel. We'll get to the highlights of that, just about a 5-minute highlight, very controversial. But I want to talk about 83, what's significant. A couple of dates I will tell you. First of all, 1974 was the biggest attendance year in the history of the Mid-South Coliseum. Now, 1983 was the year that it drew the most money. It grossed the most money. There's no doubt about it. Michael, you missed a comment that I said earlier when I was giving figures. Ricky Gibson, Jerry Lawler program started in May of 1974, started out with 6,300 people. What set that up was that six-man tag where this is the brilliance of Jerry Jarrett. That six-man tag, Rick Gibson got a pin over Jerry Lawler. Then it drew 6,300 people a few weeks later. They did something hot, and the next week they came back and drew. And again, I apologize to Team Hills, people coming in all the time, but Michael wasn't on the show, and I wanted to tell him these figures. Started out at 63, then the next week it went to 92. The next week it went 11-3, Lawler and Gibson. The next week it went 11,629. The next week it did 11,630 with a two-ring battle royal, which was won by Rick Gibson and Fargo and Lawler as part of the double main event. Michael, I'm telling you, 1974, you had a lot of baby faces that drew money. Jackie Fargo did. There were so many. But if you look at that run there, nobody as a baby face drew the money than Ricky Gibson did. Nobody.
That's pretty amazing when you think about it. And, when you talk about 83, that was a year that I was very, very involved with. We did a lot of videos. We did a lot of voiceovers. Everything it seemed like. And I know when Randy West is around, he's always quick to comment. There was a certain flow to it. And when you mention those numbers, and those numbers just kept going up and up and up. I mean, that's a pretty incredible run when you think about it. And again, so much of the wrestling business, I think, is chemistry, and that is chemistry between the people that are wrestling in the matches, but also chemistry in the locker room, and chemistry with the promoter and the matchmaker, and everybody sort of pulling together and everybody making it all work. A big old bowl of gumbo, if you would. And I think 83 sort of hit that line, not only with the money line, Randy, but with the gumbo of the people that were involved.
I think there's no doubt about it. In one way, I think this is a miscue, and another way, you can't knock the results, because I want to, and of course, that 11,600 people was on June the 17th. On August, let me get this date for you so I can't get it wrong. On August the 12th, 1974, Ricky Gibson was in the third match of the night and went to a 15-minute draw with the Bounty Hunter. That's surprising. And to give you an idea of what the main event was, in the house, Jerry Lawler defeated Dick the Bruiser via disqualification, 11,599 people. So the deal was, for that program, Lawler and Gibson, at the end of the day, Jarrett was going with Lawler all the way, and Rick was a vehicle to do that. And then he ended up, as a match on the card, going to a draw where Lawler was in a main event with one of the biggest stars in the history of wrestling. Hello, Ronnie Crowder. But that's just interesting to see how quick he slipped down the card, but I'm sure he was still making good money.
Well, also, you got to remember at that point in time, Robert had already teamed up with Ricky Morton, and it was, there was new blood coming that way. But also, I always heard about Ricky Gibson, that Ricky and Robert at that time, and more so Ricky, I think, than Robert, were more homebodies. They wanted to be close to Pensacola. They wanted to be close to Mobile, and they did a lot of work for the fields and all the people in Mobile and Dothan and down in that area in Southeastern. So I wonder how much of that was Ricky maybe getting homesick and wanting to, play it down and then go back to Mobile, because I think that played into some wrestlers' careers. But I had always heard that Ricky was pretty much a homebody and liked to stay pretty close to home.
Before we get into 83, because we do have some very interesting video we'll get to, and everybody be patient at us, because one of the one thing that's important for Michael and important for me and Pat and Chris is we tell the story every week of Memphis wrestling. 82, I spent 3 weeks and I didn't finish the story, and I just think it's a injustice that we didn't finish the story. We ended the year with the near sellout at the Mid-South Coliseum. We had 5-minute highlight that Randy West put together of Nick Bockwinkel and Jerry Lawler from the Mid-South Coliseum. It was controversial, but we'll go to that video right now and be back with Michael St. John and me, ORH, after this video.
Jerry, I just want to tell you, for all the championship wrestling fans, congratulations, man. It's the first time in your busy schedule now we've had a chance to acknowledge this on television, and I really am delighted. I know everybody else is.
Well, I want to thank you, Lance. I appreciate the compliments. I want to thank the fans, and it's a good feeling.
I know it's got to be a good feeling. I tell you, I am interested in, we saw just a moment ago a little special that had been edited in there, and I know that Mr. Bockwinkel, with all of the conversation that was made, I don't know whether you have had a chance to see this or not, but I want you to stay right here with me, because right now I want all of the wrestling fans to take a look at the former World Heavyweight Champion in regards to this match. This is totally unedited. This is the raw footage, just the way we shot the thing, and let's take a look at it right now. The champion climbs up off of Lawler. He's going over to get the referee, who was really flattened as he hit Lawler's head. It almost closed Lawler's eye. Slammed back down, and he pulled the referee over. But Calhoun again is still not with it. Bockwinkel is counting himself. He's picking Jerry Calhoun up. Lawler puts Bockwinkel down. 1, 2. He got him!
The people are going crazy. Eddie Marlin comes to the ring. King Cobra to the ring. Terry Taylor to the ring.
Jerry, can we get you the new world champion? I can't get the mic up. Oh, we love it. The king, the new world heavyweight title holder. Unbelievable. The crowd absolutely stunned. Lawler, the champion. He beat Nick Bockwinkel.
The crowd goes wild. Cameraman Randy West stands out.
He defeated
Lawler
Nick Bockwinkel.
walks out.
The
Lance
time
is
was
so
19
happy.
minutes and 20
and
seconds.
Nick Bockwinkel,
19,
our
20,
favorite
and the new
world
champion
champion
is
ever.
Jerry
And watch
Lawler.
this great piece of
Probably
business.
going to be the biggest lie you ever told in your life.
The referee counted it 1, 2, 3. Champion, I've seen you in great fights, but he beat you 1, 2, 3.
Come on, get off of it. You got to be kidding me. I beat him from pillar to post. This is what I have consistently said. The officiating in the South is totally prejudice, and tonight was an example in...
He counted 1, 2, 3, Nick. He had you down on the mat and 1, 2, 3.
You've been at this microphone long enough. Who are you trying to jack around?
Well, I saw.
Now, you saw
he
what?
counted 1,
Yes,
2,
you
3.
Did your eyes, you have 4 of them, I notice, see anything else? Or don't the glasses go to the other side of the ring?
I don't know what you're
Oh, you
referring
don't
to.
know
I
what I'm
saw the
referring
shoulders
to.
down.
You saw the shoulders down. The damn bottom rope in this part of the country is 6 inches higher than regulation any place else, which means my feet had to be up there on the balcony. Now, come on, I'm asking you.
You're not. The loss is there.
These cretinous humanoids who suffer from cranial-anal impaction 6.5 days out of the week, I am sure will send their tens of thousands of letters to Stanley Blackburn saying he beat him right in the middle of the ring. Now, if anything happens to the tape of this match, then I hope we don't have a Nixon doctoring job here. I hope we don't have that, because if these people accept it, then they are showing how cheap they are in class, in attitude, and in style of living. Because if Lawler takes that as a victory, he's the cheapest man I've ever known in sports. And if these fans back him, likewise for them, likewise for you, and likewise for everybody here in the South. This issue is not resolved, and you are looking at the world's heavyweight champion. You are talking to him, and Stanley Blackburn, I am sure, will go along with what I've said.
Nick, I gave you more class than that. He beat you right in the middle of the ring.
Oh, boy, are you showing your lack of class by accepting that cheap so-called victory and saying he's the world's heavyweight champion? Lance Russell, grow up. Why don't you move north or out west of California?
It's November the 19th.
We're going to be right back.
7:36 Central Standard Time, and that was that amazing video. 60 degrees in Jonesboro, Arkansas. It's Michael St. John here with us. What did you think about that piece of business?
I love to hear Bockwinkel. Bockwinkel's got one of those promos and one of those voices as iconic as any sportscaster in America. He's a Vin Scully. He's a Bob Costas. He's a Jack Buck. I mean, roll them all together. His vocabulary is superior to most people on earth. He talks so fluently, yet you understand what you're saying. And in being a consummate heel, you couldn't hear a thing other than the fact that the fans had gone bananas and that the fans were backing Lawler, and Lawler could have pinned him with his feet stuck to the ceiling. It wouldn't have made a difference. The fact of the matter is that was a great afterbirth and a promo fashion, as you will see in professional wrestling in anywhere, in any division, in any territory.
The tape got back to Stanley Blackburn, the president of the AWA, and he reversed the decision. So that lasted for 2 days as Lawler as the AWA World Champion, and he would not re-win the title ever from Nick Bockwinkel, but he defeated Mr. Perfect, the soon-to-be Mr. Perfect, in 1988. PJ says that outside of Memphis, that Nick Bockwinkel is her #1 favorite outside of Memphis. Nate, I want to say hello to you. We're going to slow it down a little bit before we go to the next video, and I'm going to point out a few things, and I will stop as I get to a couple of different points and let Michael St. John respond to it. 82, we spent the last 3 weeks and we saw the debut of Kamala, the debut of the Fabulous Ones. We saw just fantastic stuff, heart getting hot. It was just fantastic without a doubt. 82 was great. 83 started with business being great. It was being booked by Jerry Jarrett and Bill Dundee, and business, I wrote on my notes, was good. It was better than good. It was great as we go throughout the year, and as I've said, it was the biggest money year in the history of Memphis wrestling. I'm going to name you at the start of the year and a little bit throughout the year some of the people that were there, especially at the top of the year. I'm going to read this little bit of information and then comments about this from Quick Take, Quick Thoughts from Michael St. John. First event of the year had beautiful Bobby Fulton, soon to be of the Fantastics, Jesse Barr, Mike Boyette as Apocalypse, King Cobra, Dirty Dutch Mantel, Terry Taylor, a big run as the Southern Heavyweight Champion. Coco Ware was around as Sweet Brown Sugar. the debut, I love this one, Michael, of Adrian Street and Miss Linda, managed by Jim Cornette. Bill Dundee, Jacques Rougeau, the fabulous one, Sabu, the Sheepherders. Appearances by Nick Bockwinkel. Had one match where Jerry Lawler teamed up with Coco and Terry Funk in a match. Many, 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 many appearances by Nick Bockwinkel. So from the start of the year to March the 1st, that's the crew, and that's how we started the year 1983. Again, things were about to change, but just at that point, your thoughts?
Well, first of all, you're running a hot streak out of 82 into 83, so the carryover was very good. But that roster, you know, how many Hall of Famers are on that roster? There's a bunch.
Yes,
when you look
absolutely.
at it. So you got a great roster, but again, I think part of 82, 83, and remembering doing, over at Randy West's house and talking to Jerry and meeting with him in the office out behind the house and all that stuff. I remember that time there was a lot of everybody was sort of gelled together. You didn't have a lot of, I don't think there was a lot of at the time. I think the boys were working hard. It was a good time in history for the American economy. And, there had been a change in the presidency in 80 and, all that stuff sort of, I think, folds into it. But when you look at that roster, Randy, I dare say that's one of the best rosters ever in Memphis wrestling history.
No doubt about it. So everything was rocking and rolling. Jerry Jarrett had built that house on Cumberland Hills Drive, and that's something that Christine Jarrett was antsy about. Said, you don't want the boys to think they're out here struggling, going up and down these highways, and you're living in a mansion. And he had a house with a ballroom. It was a beautiful house. If I won $1 billion, I don't think I'm on the lottery. I don't think I will, Michael, because I've never played the lottery in my life. But I would buy that house today, without a doubt. It's just beautiful. But there was heat there, and legend says that on the homecoming, Lance Russell was there, Dave Brown was there, also the fabulous ones were there, Jerry Lawler and Bill Dundee. Not a lot, that's about it as far as the full-time roster. Now, I can understand Hill's not being there because you just didn't do that and those sort of things. Country music singer Bobby Bayer, a former neighbor of Jerry Jarrett, performed a live concert out in the backyard, basically on the farm. It was just a great setup, but legend had it, because it's a huge house. I think I'm right in saying it was over 10,000 square feet, Michael. Is that correct?
I think, I think you may be a little low on that, but yeah, I think there was. That ballroom, you mentioned the ballroom, it was a giant room. And many times on interviews, I can remember midweek interviews on Wednesdays or Thursdays and showing up and going in that room, and they had Randy West would put the backdrop drape behind you. And it would be just that, and you'd be in the middle of the room. And I know it was always, the fact of the matter is, people are always concerned, is there too much echo? Because you know how it is when you get an empty room, if you don't have baffing, soundproofing, it sounds echoey. And I know sometimes there was you had to arrange things or stand a certain way so you wouldn't get that echo going. But I can remember the Sheepherders being in that room at the same time with Paulie Dangerously, if you would, as a young skinny boy that didn't even have a car, had to bum a ride with me back to the hotel in Hendersonville. And the people that would show up there, and the interviews seemed to just go a lot better when they were all together and everybody was feeding off of everybody else's promos and energy. And it was a special place, a very special place.
Now, what was fixing to happen and what had happened is Jerry Lawler was getting he was getting where he wasn't very happy. Legend has it, he said to Bill Dundee at at that party, at the open house, he said, Bill, that wing over there is the wing you paid for. This wing over here was built by me. So already, legend has it, I did not hear that. I was there, and I was a young guy. I was a year out of high school, so I wasn't invited to the thing. And Michael, I don't know if you were around to go to that open house in the early 80s or not. Were you there?
I was not. I was invited, and I think we had a promotion with the radio station, and I did not get to attend. But I remember the little Chinese lanterns and the lighting they did outside. And if my memory serves me correct, there was an event tent put up out there as well. Yeah. And it was a big to-do. It was a major to-do. Got written up in the Sumner County newspaper, and it was a big to-do.
So Jerry Lawler says, well, by God, he got to thinking. And when the company first started in 1977, in his memory, he thought, Jerry Jarrett said, when this new company starts popping, you will become a partner. And he was already given a piece of Memphis, a fairly nice 15% of Memphis, and that's the money town. But Lawler got upset. At the same time, Lance Russell was always a Jerry Lawler guy, without a doubt. He was a Jerry Lawler guy, so Lawler went to Lance, and Lance had the connections with the television. Lance's job was he was the wrestling company's representative to every television station in the territory. He was the representative. They didn't see Jerry Lawler. They didn't see Jerry Jarrett. The person that was on salary to call on the station was Lance Russell. Jerry Lawler got the idea to go opposition to Jerry Jarrett and start his own company. One of his partners and doing it with him would be Lance Russell. So at this point, then they had a big powwow after the TV, and Lawler and we got Jerry Jarrett in the room, and then Jerry, they said they were taking over, and blah blah blah. We got everybody set up. Jarrett asked Lance to leave. He did. Then Jerry Jarrett made a deal with Lawler. The two things that Jerry Jarrett agreed to was to give Jerry Lawler the book for at least 2 years, and that was one of the issues. Lawler wanted his guys in the territory. He wanted to control it. He wanted, and he pretty much did his stuff anyway, but that was very important where he had control over the crew. The other thing important to him, Michael, was there was a rule going back to the Nick Goulas days. If you lived in Memphis, you couldn't work Memphis. So Nashville was the center point of the territory, and so Lawler demanded to move back to Memphis. So starting in March of that year, Jerry Lawler became the booker. Now, how much of this did you know this in real time, or is this something you found out much later or a month later, or just, I don't know your answer?
Word got around pretty quickly, Randy, and especially, being that I was doing a lot of work with Randy Hales and with Randy West, and word was out there, and there was talk of what was going on. What also happened, ironically, in my personal life, is that a house went up for sale over on New Shackle Island. Was it New Shackle Island Road or Cage's Bend? I forget the road that runs parallel to the creek there in Hendersonville. And we went to look at a house that was for sale. And the gentleman that we were looking to get into a bigger house took us to see it, and it had nice lakefront, view and all that, older house. And come to find out, it was Jerry Lawler's house. And I'll never forget, there was one thing about that house that was
that on Saunders Ferry?
Saunders Ferry, that's it. Yeah. That's it, on Saunders Ferry.
Let me interrupt you. Who did Jerry Lawler buy that house from? Do you know that?
Jojo. Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Who never lived in it.
Who never lived in it. Right, right. But the bathroom, you went in and it had a shower. And the floor was, you walked in and the shower was here, but the tub, and it wasn't a sunken tub, you actually stepped down into the shower. In other words, it was made for a bigger person, obviously, or an athlete, if you would. And we looked at that was one of the points that I remember my ex saying to me. She said, I could never live with that shower. So we ended up passing on that house, but actually looked at it and actually knew the history of the fact that Jerry had bought it from Tojo. And when we first went to look at it, I had no idea that there was any wrestling connection. And I was doing the wrestling work with Jerry Jarrett and Randy West. And it was sort of ironic that we would be looking at Jerry Lawler's house that he put up for sale so he could move back to Memphis.
Very interesting city by the bay. Doesn't join us much. San Francisco, California. Hello. What's going on? He likes my Hell's hoodie. How about that? Somebody said. So what were you hearing about the power play at the time? Because at this point I would guess, because you lived in Nashville, you and Jerry Jarrett was booking, that you dealt with probably more on a regular basis with Randy West, Jerry Jarrett, and Bill Dundee than you did Jerry Lawler at this point.
Absolutely. And if I'm incorrect, please correct me. But didn't Jerry Lawler take some time and go to Hawaii or go outside the territory and do some shots? Maybe it was in Minneapolis in that territory during this time when it got hot without him, and there was a little, I won't say animosity, but a little perhaps professional jealousy that it would do well when he wasn't part of the game every week, if you would.
No, that year of 1982, that was his return year from the broken leg.
Right.
Business did real good. I mean, it was just excellent, just fantastic, as we've covered lately. 83 ended up, for a lot of different reasons, including some raised prices, but 83 was a better money year. I've never had one conversation with Jerry Lawler about that. He just felt in his head he was promised something he didn't get. Jerry Jarrett gave it to him, and he said he should have come back and reminded me. He said now that he brought it up, I remember initially telling him that, but it was never brought up again. And so I can see both sides of the story. One of the immediate things that he did, and I think in the long run that this would have led to problems if it ended up Jarrett gone and Lawler brought in people he was offering points in the business to. Handsome Jimmy Valiant, Austin Idol, of course Lance Russell. Different people were promised that sort of thing. Immediately Austin Idol came into the territory. Some of the people that Lawler created were the Galaxians, Ken Wayne and Danny Davis, Jimmy Hart and the First Family. The Rock and Roll Express was also a big part of it. They had a match in February. How about this match? Andre the Giant teamed with Lawler and Coco against the Bruise Brothers and Bobby Eaton, and just all kinds of stuff. So in the first month of Lawler booking, he started going, he just started going with the build there to get everything ready for the summer. It was very interesting time period, but a lot of stuff going on before the change.
Well, and again, it's odd that change would happen when things are going so good. Normally, when things are going this way, you want to stay with what you're doing. And for the fact that it was going this way, Lawler has some thoughts about, I'm being ignored, or I'm not being given my due, or whatever the case may be. Normally, you don't make a change and go a different direction when it's going like this. And that's what's interesting, the most interesting about this whole thing. And then where does Bill Dundee and where does he fit into this? Now, all of a sudden, is he the person that was putting a lot of work in, and then all of a sudden he's not in charge anymore? Is there some hard feelings there? I mean,
I would imagine, and then, you know, we've talked about one of the things that made Lawler and Dundee great was they didn't like each other. They were as opposite as you can be, and certainly this happened in March. By June the 6th, Dundee was out of the territory, losing that loser lead down. And so I think that will tell you anything you want to know. Some other good stuff happening. I might have mixed some of this up with 84, but it's just great stuff. And I'm thinking some of the stuff I'm about to show you was booked by Jerry Lawler once this has switched. This first video is the Fabulous Ones. Lawler had brought in the Moondogs, and this is a quick highlight tape of a match with the Moondogs and the Fabulous Ones, and we'll watch this right now. Michael, the people are going crazy. They debuted in April of '82. People are going crazy with this match.
And of course, they hit the ring hot.
Oh yeah!
I mean, that is such a great way to start a match, especially something where there's bad blood between the teams. Obviously, look at Larry Latham putting that crutch into the back of I guess that's which one of the Fabs has he got? My screen's blocked. Steve Kern, I guess that was Kern that was getting the heat from the crutch.
Yes. Bo James is asking a question for Randy West, and I think he is watching. He wants to know if there's an upgrade of camera equipment and lighting in 1983 at the Mid-South Coliseum to start looking different and better in that summer. This might be the time when they brought the second camera, and there you go. Ken Cornell had a camera at ringside, a handheld at ringside, and Randy West was up in the balcony with that long shot that we always did. So I think that was the main change, don't you, Michael?
Absolutely, and of course, when you've got that handheld at ringside, you got that overhead bright light hanging over the ring, so you get a better effective lighting with that sideline camera, that ringside camera, if you would.
Oh, Steve's in trouble, but here comes Stan.
How much was gas in Tennessee City by the Bay asked in 1983? Do you know, Michael?
If I recall correctly, it was around $1.29, $1.39 a gallon, I believe, but I'm not totally sure on that. I don't really keep up with gas prices and keep up with how much I owe them on the credit card bill when it comes in every month.
Randy West said, Bo, that year we upgraded to Sony cameras, so that's the upgrade. There are people asking about the relationship with Mid-South. Dundee went to the satellite territory for Georgia Championship Wrestling in June, then came back to Memphis. Then he started at the end of December, started '84, working for Bill Watts as the booker of Mid-South Wrestling, took the Rock and Roll with Terry Taylor and others, plus Jim Cornette, Bobby Eaton, other people there. Randy West, did you go to Beta at that time from Unimatic?
Boy, this is a wild match.
I love how Team Hales, I remember watching this. Are you looking at some of these questions? What great questions, Michael.
Oh, absolutely. We got the best followers out there, Randy.
Dan slammed into it. They're lining Steve up. He
By the way, Michael, I bought gas in Jonesboro, Arkansas today for $2.37.
That's why
Yay.
they call it anything goes. 5 minutes.
I bought a hamburger and an order of fries at Freddy's about 2 hours ago for $11.
That's still pretty lofty.
Agreed.
Randy West says it was 87 when they changed to beta. So this is 83 stuff. Talking about Freddy's in Jonesboro. Adam likes, when he comes to Jonesboro, going, I've got to tell him it was closed down here for about 2 months, maybe 3. And then they changed owners and it's opened back up.
Their burgers are fabulous, but I love their french fries. Absolutely love their french fries. And I'm not a big french fry guy, but I love theirs.
2 minutes, 20 seconds left in this video. This is just wild and woolly crazy asking Shane Odom asking you a question. Michael, who is on your Mount Rushmore of Memphis tag teams? That's a hard question. Michael's been around as long as I have. It's hard to name 4, Michael.
Oh, amen. You're gonna have to give me a week to think about that because I got 8, 9 that come to mind immediately. But I mean, you talk about and this rough and tumble, this craziness that we're seeing with the Moondogs. You got to realize that you had that with the Sheepherders. You had that with other heel teams that came along, and they each took it to another level. I mean, this isn't a wrestling match. This is a brawl.
And then the main event that night was Jerry Lawler in a wrestling match. I think it's important to give the audience, as long as it's believable, a little bit of everything.
We just got a comment that I totally agree with. It says, I'm saying the low West screens have tops. It says, I missed when the camera found the wrestlers today, the wrestlers are looking for the cameras. That is so true. So true. These guys, I'm sure they're aware of where the camera is, but they're not playing to the camera.
And that's a big Vince McMahon thing. I think Larry Latham and Randy Collins, the best version of the Migos.
Absolutely, 100% agree.
Referee Paul Morton, a jam-packed Mid-South Coliseum in Memphis, Tennessee.
Winners of the Anything Goes match.
Wow. Anything went, that's for sure.
All right, there's no doubt about it, and that was exciting video. And there was a situation where Steve Kern was double teamed and injured, and Stan Lane had to get a partner, and Steve Kern could not be available for the match, and he got a partner all right. And I bet you can guess who that partner was as we watch now.
Jukebox Plus is your complete music solution. Rip and burn CDs faster. Automatically add the right song, artist, and album information to your tracks with super tagging. Print full-color custom CD labels and covers. Get more out of your jukebox. Upgrade to Plus today.
I don't know where the hell that came from. Jackie Fargo, how about that? You thought that last match was wild and woolly? Michael St. John, the fabulous Jackie Fargo.
Incredible, and Fargo already hit the referee. He hit Jerry Calhoun before he ever hit the first wrestle.
So Fargo was born in 1930. This was 83 or 84. So he's in his 50s, correct?
Absolutely, yes.
Of the fabulous ones, Stan and Steve. Uh-oh, Jimmy Hart came ripping around behind Jackie Fargo. Nailed him with that stick. Fargo picks the chair up and wheels the big Moondog.
Richard, as Moondog, but it's very late from he did. But
Fargo
Fargo,
comes in a ring.
I wanted to ask you, do you think if Fargo wasn't coming in a whole lot then, Fargo was more the style of Roughhouse Fargo out of control here, do you agree?
Absolutely. And as he got older, it was more of that style.
Comes a trash can.
The people are going crazy. Again, Memphis invented hardcore wrestling, but kept the wrestling around. This is just part of the puzzle. People not hardcore wrestling now. It was invented here. Fargo's been doing hardcore wrestling since the 60s, Michael.
Well, you're right, Randy, but I think I think hardcore, it's the old adage is, what do you do for an encore when your first act is suicide? They kept, you look at all this, there's trash cans, there's the bell, there's pieces of the table and that kind of stuff. But they're not light bulbs and thumbtacks and glass and barbed wire and bats that are wrapped in barbed wire. And I mean, there's a limit to how much is believable in a hardcore match. And you're right, this is hardcore wrestling, but this is all believable. But you don't see Fargo dumping a thing of thumbtacks or getting a light tube in the ring and hitting the guy over the head with it. It's repulsive and ridiculous. And this other guy, idiot that goes in now with the pizza cutter and cuts people up with the pizza cutter. That's not hardcore. That's assault with assault and battery with attempt to murder. It's just gone too crazy.
100% agree. Now,
what do you do next? Bring a loaded gun in the ring? Come on.
I'm surprised they hadn't done that. Now maybe.
Oh, I'm sure it's coming.
Maybe Steve Austin did that in the Attitude Era. The people are loving this brawl. Jimmy Hart doing his part, going crazy, a nervous wreck. The fabulous Jackie Fargo and Stan Lane certainly controlling the situation, and the crowd at a fever pitch. And now here comes the heat part of the match, Michael, with that dreaded bone.
Yep. But again, you talk about hardcore, Randy. This is really a barroom brawl. You could see this in a wild ass honky tonk bar, but you're not going to see in a bar light tubes and thumbtacks and broken glass. People cutting each other with pizza cutters and crap.
Buster was, but certainly I was not around when he was wrestling. Real quick, we want to continue on subject, but we will talk about that. The movie Walking Tall was made, and of course they Hollywooded it up, but Buford Pusser was a wrestler, a referee, and he was around that West Tennessee area. Did you ever meet Buford Pusser, Michael?
No, I didn't. I'm very well aware of his legend, and the legend of is still alive today. I want to say, was he in Savannah, Tennessee? Or was it Humboldt? Down in that area somewhere, I believe.
I think it was, as Adam says, Adamsville.
Adamsville, okay, all right.
Yes, it was closer to Bolivar, I think, wasn't it, Adam? And I could be wrong on that. I can't picture Adamsville right now, but
I want to say it's McNairy County and down in that south, almost the counties that touch Mississippi. But again, I may be wrong.
We're going to start the series, or this part of the section, and there's about 13 parts of the heel turn of Bill Dundee of 1983, and we'll get into that. We're not going to get it all. Again, I want the people, as Adam is saying, he was the sheriff of McNairy County, Tennessee, from 1964 to 1970. So McNairy County, Tennessee. So I want to tell everybody what we're going to do. We're going to talk about the heel turn, and we're going to go kind of week to week in the different programs, and we're going to start it today, and we're just going to take our time because we've already covered a lot of stuff today, and we've just been on for about an hour and 11 minutes, and I just want people, when the show is over, just to remember what we've talked about. And so we're going to get in Lawler and Dundee and the heel turn of Dundee. Michael, I wanted to talk to you about the fact, and I mentioned it at the open of the program, that Bill Dundee debuted in January of '75. Then later in the year, George Barnes got homesick and went back. Dundee saw a future in Tennessee, and boy, was he right on that, so he stayed. Now, at first, they put him with Chris Code as a partner and different people, and he was a heel. He was he was main event very rarely. He was semifinal, third from the top. He was in Birmingham some on Monday, Memphis other time. This is after George Barnes left in September. Well, from the debut time in January, Christine Jarrett told Jerry Jarrett, said, that cute young Australian needs to be a good guy. She would never talk, even though she knew, certainly, she would never talk inside terms, ever. A lot of wrestling fans do right now, but Christine Jarrett didn't. She said, hey, Jerry, says, Bill, that cute little Australian needs to be a good guy. And that's where they went with it in the year of 1975. He stayed babyface. He had that 7-month run with Lawler. He was, for many, many years, was the top babyface in the territory. When Lawler switched back babyface, or switched babyface after his broken leg, Dundee became number 2. But it was more, he went to all the towns and Lawler didn't. So I would say Dundee was 1B. Now, Lawler had taken over the book at this time. So at this point, I think that it was decided, I don't know by Bill, I don't know by Lawler, if it was by Lawler or Jerry Jarrett came in for, with this or not. I just don't know whose idea was. I think they knew when they switched Dundee heel that the ultimate goal down the line was the fact they were building toward a June loser leave town. That's when Dundee was going to go book Ole Anderson's territory that you were a part of with Chattanooga, Tennessee.
Sounded like a great idea to me.
And Ole didn't give it a chance, because I think it worked, because I can tell you, Dundee's stuff with the Memphis style worked for Bill Watts at the end of the year, start of the next year. He just didn't give it a chance, did he?
No, and I think part of that was the rub between Ole and Jerry Jarrett, and the fact that Ole thought Memphis wrestling was a bunch of hillbillies that weren't true wrestlers, kind of thing. But the thing I remember the last TV show we did, you could feel, we're getting more people coming to TV. We weren't having to, ask our friends and neighbors to come. And it was starting to take off. In Chattanooga, you have to realize at that point in time, Randy had been dormant of a territory since Nick Gulas was bought out, because one of the first things Jerry Jarrett did when he bought out Nick in 79, late 79, early 80s, they closed down Chattanooga. And I think it was more of a travel issue than anything. And I think maybe the Fullers ran it. I know Bo James is on with us, and Bo's outstanding on this history stuff. And I think the boys out of Knoxville ran it a little bit. In Atlanta, Ronnie West tried to get some of the Atlanta boys up there for a while, but it never had that consistency that it had during the Gulas Welch years. And then this thing, I think, like you said, the fire was lit, but it was just two clashes of different styles. And I think in the end, goalie said, "To hell with it, I ain't doing this no more."
It started around February or March, probably in maybe into April, the heel turn, and it was the next video after the one we just saw, Adam. It's 3 minutes and 48 seconds. 3 minutes and 48 seconds is part one of the heel turn of Bill Dundee. We got a bunch of them. We won't get to them all, but we want to watch this first one right now on Talking Memphis Wrestling. Michael St. John, say yo, Michael.
Look at it for what it is, and then continue to make your own decision. Let's take a look. Southern Heavyweight title match. Bill Dundee, Terry Taylor. Tough action.
A battle of baby faces.
Too bad Coach isn't here. He would love this man.
Oh, he would have. That's probably why he's not here. He saw my notes.
I think so. I think he took a powder on you.
Divided group. Look at that move. Terry Taylor on the right, and Bill Dundee, who is now out on the floor, bounced there by the champion Taylor, are doing battle for the Southern Heavyweight crown.
I thought I would take a time out. You can commentate on this. It's about 3 minutes left. I'll be back before this thing is over, and make sure that you look at the comments if anybody has questions, please. I'll be right back. I'm tagging you. Tagging you, Michael.
You got it, Randy. I'm going to let Lance, I can never talk over Lance. He's way too good for my voice to even be heard over here.
Dundee said nope. Well, you can hear the crowd. Some of them saying he did, some said he didn't. Look at that Taylor move. Beautiful. Top wrist lock takes Billy back down. He is being broken up. The referee saying it. Terry said, I don't believe this. Dundee delivered into a big high backdrop by Taylor. Billy rolls out of the ring, straightens the back up. Some of the Terry Taylor fans in the front row really giving Billy a hard way to go as he walked around. Paul Morton counting, and Taylor a little over anxious. And while Taylor has a little edge in age on him, Dundee is known for his durability and his ability to stay with it even when the going gets unbelievably tough. Dundee pitches him off. Taylor wraps him up, goes for the pin, slides Dundee, but the legs are hooked on the rope, and that'll call for a break. Dundee came out firing those feet, too. He almost got Taylor with that crab move. Back to the corner. Referee says break. And Bill put his hands back on Taylor. And Taylor dumped him right on the seat of his pants. Whips, bang. Shoveled him into the ropes.
Terry Taylor and Bobby Ford were going as the fantastic ones, not the fabulous.
Went up.
That's correct. That is correct.
Dundee speared him, and Dundee is the new Southern Heavyweight Champion. In 13 minutes, 16 seconds, Dundee is the winner over Terry Taylor.
I think Dundee got that strut from our buddy. I think he got that strut he did just then with Miss Linda and our. I'm having a moment here.
Adrian Street.
Adrian Street. By the way, my wife Melanie is not into wrestling a whole lot, but when we first started living together and being together right before we got married. I took her to a match in Sheffield, Alabama. Jerry Lawler was there, put on a show, and she got to meet Jerry, and we taped it and all that good stuff. And she met Adrian and Linda back in the back, and then watched the show. And to this day, her favorite wrestler, you can ask her anytime you want, and she will tell you, is Exotic Adrian Street. She said he was a great wrestler and he put on a show. Well, that's what it's all about.
What did you think about that video? They didn't drastically hit somebody with a chain. I thought it was absolutely brilliant.
I think it was pure. I think at times you got to have a pure title change, and that was a pure title change. And if you look at that and you look at how physically fit those guys were, they were doing the gym thing. You look at them, Terry Taylor is ripped. Dundee was probably in the best shape of his career. And I think it proved they just did a pure match, and they turned the title. Very well done.
Let's see how they followed up on TV the following week. The video is 4 minutes and 7 seconds.
We're waiting for the new Southern Heavyweight Champion, Bill Dundee.
That's an Adrian Street pose.
Congratulations, Billy. There's a lot of comments before the match. There's a lot of comments during it, and a lot of comments since the bout. I'd say it was a good tough one. You did what you set out to do. You took the title away from Taylor.
That's right, Lancer. I come out here and I told all the people that when I wrestled Terry Taylor, he was a paper champion, and I would be the Southern Heavyweight Champion. Now, I'm going to be the Southern Heavyweight Champion until a better wrestler than me comes along and beats me. But I don't see none around here. There isn't a wrestler around here that can beat Bill Superstar Dundee. Now, let me give you another episode in the life of Terrence Weirden Taylor III. Now, he went to college. Now, like I keep telling you, college education is all very good if you're going to be a doctor or a professor or somebody that needs a college education. I left school when I was 14 years old, been on my own since then. Now, everything I got, I clawed, fought, bit, and got it all by my little old self. I didn't have a daddy who was a doctor. Now, he goes to college for a bunch of years, spent $10,000 of his little old daddy's money. Then he gets into the wrestling school in the college, and he wins a couple of wrestling matches, amateur style. So then he goes home, he says, Daddy, I don't need this college education. I'm going to be a wrestler. So he goes all around the country and he gets booked as a professional wrestler. He left the boys and he got in with the men. So then he comes to Memphis, Tennessee, and he teams up with Bill Dundee. What a successful tag team I was, because I won all the matches. Now, he goes to Eddie Marler and he says, I'm so good now, I want a Southern title match. So they book him in a Southern title match, and you know, when he won the belt, he was more surprised than Sabu was. Terry Taylor was standing like this in the middle of the ring, and the referee says, here, it belongs to you. You're the Southern Heavyweight Champion. I won. So they gave you the belt. Then he never defended it. So then Eddie Marlin teams him back up with Bill Dundee, and again I was a successful tag team, and he's walking around with his belt, telling everybody he's the Southern Heavyweight Champion. So kind of irked me. So I went to old Eddie. I said, hey, Bugs Bunny, I want a title match for that paper champion. And the first time you give it to me, I'm going to beat him. So I wrestled him. Did I wrestle him, Lance?
You did, in fact.
Did nothing but wrestle. So your little college education, your little amateur background didn't do nothing when you got up into the major leagues. You're a minor league wrestler, Terry. Now, you're a good wrestler, brother, and 5 or 6 years down the pike, you may be another good Southern Heavyweight Champion. But I'm going to tell you something, brother. This week, I gave you a wrestling lesson last week, and I'm going to make you a promise, brother. This week, I'm going to beat your brains out. I'm going to see how big and bad you are. I never laid a hand on you last week, brother. I just wrestled you. Now, if you're clumsy and whatever you want to say that, and it was a mistake, I really don't care, because I've got this belt. That makes me the champion. But this week, brother, now, I'll tell you what, Lancer, I'll save you a lot more embarrassment, Terry. If you come out here, shake hands with me now, we'll call it off, we'll both have a night off, and you just tell all the people the superstar's right. He's a better man than me. We'll forget it. But if you don't, brother, and you show up down there this week, I'm going to beat your brains out, Terry, and I'm not going to stop till you crawl over there and you tell the referee, please, Mr. Referee, tell Mr. Dundee not to hit me no more, because I'm going to beat you, brother.
Okay, Billy, I can only say I think that you're letting a little irritation because maybe you were bypassed a couple of times get in the way of it. We didn't deny you're a dynamite wrestler and you are the champion. I think that you've taken it a little to heart that some of the fans like Terry.
And I'm just going to tell you all this. Anybody that wants a crack at this belt, anybody in the whole wide world, you just get in touch with Eddie Marlin and the superstar will wrestle you, because I'm a great wrestler.
Okay, well, you're going to have to beat him again before it's all over with. That's Bill Dundee, and we got action in the ring with Bill involved. Let's go to Dave.
All right. 1975, the switch of Bill Dundee. First heel promo was there in April of 83. So it just, to me, it was just perfect booking, perfect. That was a hell of a segment, Michael.
It was. And the fact of the matter is that the foreshadowing, Bill gets the belt. He always had a little chip on his shoulder. Now he starts healing up. He starts agitating the crowd, agitating the fans, starting to get into that heel mode. Because I tell you, you build up to something like that and continue the build, it's only going to draw better money.
Part 3 of this is 244. More of Taylor and Dundee from Talking Memphis Wrestling. Michael.
From Australia, 214 pounds, current holder of that AWA Southern Heavyweight title, the superstar, Bill Dundee. This match won for 15-minute time limit. Jerry Calhoun, the referee. Hutchinson goes after Dundee with his back turned. Dundee taking off his warm-up jacket, and Hutchinson went after it. Bill Dundee turned around and goes to work on him with a right hand. Got up 3, it's over. Wow, Hutchinson made a terrible mistake when he jumped Billy from behind. Bill not the greatest of moves anyway. And he just turned around and went after Hutchinson. The time on that match, 18 seconds. 18 seconds, the win for Dundee.
Not very long. Right now, the gentleman that held that belt before the match, Terry. I'm sorry about the outcome of the match in there, and I didn't mean it's all over. You got another shot at Bill.
Well, Lance, that is not the same Bill Dundee I used to ride up and down the roads with. Bill helped me a lot when I first got here, but I don't know. It just sounds like somebody else talking coming out of his mouth. Well, Bill Dundee said he gave me a lesson and I had a wrestling lesson. Well, Bill, you gave me a lesson, all right, but it wasn't a wrestling lesson. You showed me how you really could be. Now, he's talking about my education and things like that. I don't think that has anything to do with my wrestling ability. I went into that ring, I gave him a title shot the first time he asked for it, and I don't know if that was intentional, how he beat me, because he did beat me, he did pin me. But that was a low blow, and I think everybody saw that.
I understand what you're saying, and I think it's, I still don't know either. It happened.
If you don't know, why didn't he wait to see if I was all right? As soon as it happened, he dove right on top of me, and 1, 2, 3. I mean, I saw it back on the replay. He didn't wait to see if I was okay.
That's right.
And I can honestly stand out here in front of everybody here and say if the shoe was on the other foot, that I would have let Bill Dundee get up and continue. Now, I wouldn't want to win a title like that. I'm the paper champion, Bill. I'm the one who wins titles like that. I just have to say one thing. When I came out here 4 months ago, I told everyone out here that I felt like it was my time to be champion. Well, I feel exactly the same way, and I'm going to show everybody here and Bill Dundee exactly how I feel the same way.
Great, Terry. Good luck to you. Quite a young man, and let me tell you, whether Bill is right that he's still got 5 years of experience to get behind him, or whether it is his time or not, we're going to find it out. But that's quite a pairing in there with Dundee and Taylor. Okay, we got timeout. We got more action. We have Stagger Lee coming around.
Outside the ring, I'll be the first to say that Terry Taylor was a little prickish. I really thought that he was. As far as on this show, the long-standing deal we have on this program is Chris Ellis legitimately hates Terry Taylor. Terry Taylor, and he ain't working. He really does not like Terry Taylor, but has never met the guy. Terry Taylor was a great babyface, a great wrestler that drew money. He's just fantastic. And I thought that was a very good interview, and it was babyface all the way. So we know our babyface, and we know our heel without a doubt. What do you think, Michael?
I agree, Randy. And one thing about Terry is, and I think Bill was shooting when he thought the fact that talked the fact that Terry was a college graduate and well-spoken and came out of an area where, you know, he didn't know hard times, you know what I'm saying? And Terry was a more affluent, if you would, wrestler. But I think you're right. I think, and he rubbed a lot of people in the South wrong because he was and to use an old Southern phrase, an uppity Yankee. And I think that's how a lot of people looked at him. But I think in the ring and as a wrestler that knew how to work an audience, how to work his matches and all, I think he was a polished professional. But he wasn't of the same. He wasn't one of us, so to speak. He wasn't of the same curd, if you would, of the style of Memphis wrestling.
This is a very interesting segment. I think we'll get a couple more in tonight. Again, we have missing Chris and we're missing Pat Trammell. He said he may join us. Doesn't look like he is. The next segment is part 4 of the Hill Turn of 83. It's 3 minutes and 27 seconds. Talking Memphis Wrestling with Michael and Randy. Here we go with that video.
Here is the superstar. He's decked out in pretty good shape here himself, Billy.
You know, Lancer, everybody strives all their life to have greatness, and some people are just born great. Now, I think I come in the latter category. I think I was just born great. Now, they come out here and they're playing music and they're jumping around and they're doing this and they're doing that. But when you're as great as I am, you don't need no music, brother. You make your own music. Now, because when the music stops, that's the most exciting thing that goes on with most of them, just the music, brother. But I make my own music, Daddy. Now, I told you, Terrence, I would beat you the first time I wrestled you. I told you you was a paper champion, son. Now, he has a college education. He's got a piece of paper that says he's smart. Well, you ain't too smart, Daddy. You wouldn't be coming back for the third time. Now, he's running around saying that I cheated a little bit. Well, the name of the game's winning, son, and I've been in the back seat too long. Now, I don't need you all clapping. I know how good I am, so just shut your mouth, sit over there, and shut up and just look how pretty this guy is now. And I don't need you four eyes neither. Now, nobody went on Billy Dundee's bandwagon a month or so ago when he wasn't the Southern champion. But now he walks down the street and says, hey, Bill Dundee, you're the Southern champion. You all want to get on my little red wagon? Well, you can all get off, Daddy, because I'm pushing the wagon all by myself. See this belt? I won it all by myself. I didn't need nobody's help to win it. So, from now on, when you talk to me, folks, you call me Mr. Dundee or just shut your mouth, because I ain't going to talk back to you. Now, Terry Taylor, I've gave you 2 weeks in a row a wrestling lesson. This week, I'm going to beat your brains out. When Steve Curran was laying down here like a stuck pig bleeding, that's what you're going to look like, Daddy. That was the prettiest thing I seen today, him laying down there bleeding all over the place. Now, you think you're pretty, Terry Taylor? Well, you better take a picture of your face, Jack. Send it to your mama, because when I get done with you, brother, I'm going to beat your brains out, because you don't know and you don't have what it takes to take this belt. Now, anybody wants a shot at it, just go talk to old Bugs Bunny Eddie Marlin, and I'll sign any contract with anybody, Jack, because like I said last week, I will be the Southern heavyweight champion till a better wrestler comes down the pike, and it ain't here, brother. It ain't in this studio. It ain't next door. It ain't no place. You're looking at the Southern heavyweight champion for a long time. Now, Lancer, I just, like I done told you, shut up. Now, oh, yeah, you want to be on my bandwagon. You want to back a winner. Well, I didn't need you then. I don't need you now. Like I said, I won this belt all by myself. Now, Terry Taylor, the smartest thing you could do is to come right on out here and call the match off, because I promise you, and I promise all you rednecks out there, that Terry Taylor will look like Steve Curran did today, Monday night. Because, Taylor, I'm going to beat your brains out, son.
Okay, Billy, well, there will be 2 referees. I might remind you and all of the people for the bout with Taylor at Terry's request, and so the rules will be a little bit more stringently enforced.
Hey, I never cheated. Did he say I cheated? I never did nothing wrong. All I did was wrestle him. 2 weeks in a row, paper champion, you got your wrestling lesson. This week, you're going to get your brains beat out, and if you don't believe me, just climb in the ring at bell time, and I'm going to beat your brains out.
Okay, Billy. The superstar, Bill Dundee.
I think what's important is this. Dundee has not done a heel interview since September of '75. That's a perfect example. That's being a heel 101. If I was running a wrestling company anywhere and was having a heel, having a situation where I've switched somebody heel that was a baby face, I would show him that video. Fans out there, members of Team Hales, before Michael St. John gets his opinion on this, I think we need to concentrate 100% and listen to the words and listen to the facials. Watch the facials. That was a classic interview, and I think we need to hear that again. It was a 327 video, and we want to re-rack that. And this is just so important because we're trying to teach, and there's wrestlers out there that don't have direction. Instead of me going to one of these shows, folks, there's plenty of good wrestling out there when you want to see it done right. From storytelling, the switch, the personal issues, but having to sell it with the interview. And I know I'm a little fuzzy right now. I'm getting all excited and moving around too much, but I want to re-watch this Dundee interview.
Here is the superstar. He's decked out in pretty good shape here himself, Billy.
You know, Lancer, everybody strives all their life to have greatness, and some people are just born great. Now, I think I come in the latter category. I think I was just born great. Now, they come out here and they're playing music and they're jumping around and they're doing this and they're doing that. But when you're as great as I am, you don't need no music, brother. You make your own music. Now, because when the music stops, that's the most exciting thing that goes on with most of them, just the music, brother. But I make my own music, Daddy. Now, I told you, Terrence, I would beat you the first time I wrestled you. I told you was a paper champion, son. Now, he has a college education. He's got a piece of paper that says he's smart. Well, you ain't too smart, Daddy. You wouldn't be coming back for the third time. Now, he's running around saying that I cheated a little bit. Well, the name of the game's winning, son, and I've been in the back seat too long. Now, I don't need you all clapping. I know how good I am, so just shut your mouth, sit over there, and shut up and just look how pretty this guy is now. And I don't need you four eyes neither. Now, nobody went on Billy Dundee's bandwagon a month or so ago when he wasn't the Southern champion. But now he walks down the street and says, hey, Bill Dundee, you're the Southern champion. You all want to get on my little red wagon. Well, you can all get off, Daddy, because I'm pushing the wagon all by myself. See this belt? I won it all by myself. I didn't need nobody's help to win it. So, from now on, when you talk to me, folks, you call me Mr. Dundee or just shut your mouth, because I ain't going to talk back to you. Now, Terry Taylor, I've gave you 2 weeks in a row a wrestling lesson. This week, I'm going to beat your brains out. When Steve Curran was laying down here like a stuck pig bleeding, that's what you're going to look like, Daddy. That was the prettiest thing I seen today, him laying down there bleeding all over the place. Now, you think you're pretty, Terry Taylor? Well, you better take a picture of your face, Jack. Send it to your mama, because when I get done with you, brother, I'm going to beat your brains out, because you don't know and you don't have what it takes to take this belt. Now, anybody wants a shot at it, just go talk to old Bugs Bunny, Eddie Marlin, and I'll sign any contract with anybody, Jack, because like I said last week, I will be the Southern heavyweight champion till a better wrestler comes down the pike, and it ain't here, brother. It ain't in this studio. It ain't next door. It ain't no place. You're looking at the Southern heavyweight champion for a long time. Now, Lancer, I just, like I done told you, shut up. Now, oh, yeah, you want to be on my bandwagon. You want to back a winner. Well, I didn't need you then. I don't need you now. Like I said, I won this belt all by myself. Now, Terry Taylor, the smartest thing you could do is to come right on out here and call the match off, because I promise you, and I promise all you rednecks out there, that Terry Taylor will look like Steve Curran did today, Monday night. Because, Taylor, I'm going to beat your brains out, son.
Okay, Billy, well, there will be 2 referees. I might remind you and all of the people for the bout with Taylor at Terry's request, and so the rules will be a little bit more stringently enforced.
Hey, I never cheated. Did he say I cheated? Well, I never did nothing wrong. All I did was wrestle him. 2 weeks in a row, paper champion, you got your wrestling lesson. This week, you're going to get your brains beat out, and if you don't believe me, just climb in the ring at bell time, and I'm going to beat your brains out.
Okay, Billy.
Hello, Bobby Bugs. Appreciate you watching as we're headed from third base all the way headed to home right now. One more video to come. Break that interview down and everything you've seen so far with the heel turn of 83 of Bill Dundee. We go full screen, Michael St. John.
I got a feeling, Randy, the best part of that interview as I watched it the second time was timing and how he didn't rush it, how he didn't get into over the top. I mean, yeah, he said some things to rile up the crowd and to get some heat on himself, but he didn't rush the interview. And the other thing I thought he did is you know, so many times, and this is throughout, this is sort of a thread throughout Memphis wrestling for the entire history of Memphis wrestling. There's a modicum of truth in every promo. And then there was a lot of truth in that promo. So again, personal issues, telling the truth, but just bending it a little bit to fit the scenario. I think Bill's excellent. He always has been, always will be. But I think in that particular interview, we saw him take his time, sell what he had to sell, and it was 110% believability. Then at the payoff, Lance Russell says, oh, by the way, there's going to be 2 referees. Did I cheat? I mean, he always all of a sudden gets defensive. That's a great heel promo, especially as you're turning somebody from a longtime babyface, somebody beloved by the fans, now starting to show his, if you would, other side.
And he got more heelish every week, correct?
That is correct. Taking time. Time takes time. Build it, build it, build it. By the time it was time to wrestle Lawler, by the time it was the loser to leave town thing, you knew where he was.
3 weeks with Terry Taylor, Dundee got his hand raised every week. Then it was Dutch Mantell's time, and Dundee talks Dutch Mantell in a 4-minute, 8-second video right now on Talking Memphis Wrestling.
Out here for action officially in just a moment. But right now, we want to bring in the Southern Heavyweight Champion, Bill Dundee, who took the belt from Terry Taylor and has kept it. I can just put it that way.
Well, as I can see, there's a few of the people over there that appreciate talent when they see it, and there's a few don't know talent when it's staring them in the face. Now, I told you about Terry Taylor. Nobody believed me. So I went out and I beat the boy, and I'm telling it, it's a boy. I told you he was a college boy, and that's exactly what he is, and there's a little people hot at him. There was a few people in this town mad at me. I don't know why you're mad at me, because I told you exactly what I was going to do, and you're a little hot. But Lance, you know, I've always liked you, Lance, and I don't really mean this bad. But I thought you was the only guy around here with a big nose, but apparently it's not. Dirty Dutch Mantell, #1 citizen from Oiltrough, Texas. Now, have you ever seen Oiltrough, Texas? Now, you have out here for years have said Dutch Mantell is the #1 citizen from Oiltrough, Texas. Now, there used to be 2 people lived in Oiltrough, Texas. That was Sagebrush Mantell. That was his grandfather. That old fogey died, and Mantell moved out, because that's just an old spot in the middle of the road. And Mantell, I don't know what got into you, brother, but you come down sticking your nose in the superstars business. Now, I told you out here, anybody wanted a title shot, just get in touch with Eddie Marlin. He'll pick up the telephone. You don't have to come down sticking your nose in where they want it. You just like old Sagebrush, brother. You ought to be in the big arena in the sky. Now, Mantell, you wanted my attention, son. You got it. Now, Dutchman, just like I told Terry Taylor.
Come on. All right, now, Dutch. Don't let the temper get away with you here, Let's just... No fisticuffs.
I guess you're going to say this is none of my business, right?
It wasn't none of your business, Dutchman. All I told you, just get in touch with Eddie Marlin, go through the right channels, and anybody can get a title shot. I wasn't hiding behind.
That's something you never see on TV
now, haven't
anymore.
I defended every week since I won it? Didn't
What's
I
that,
tell
Michael?
everybody I would do that?
Okay.
Yes, you did.
Oh, true.
But what makes it my business is when you mention my name and you talk about me. And when you mention my name, I feel like that gives me a license to say something to you, so I'm making it my business. Now, you want to know why I came down to the ring, Dundee? You want to know why I came down to the ring?
I wasn't doing nothing to the guy. I was trying to help him out. I may have slipped and stood on his face. He stumbled in there in the first place. I was trying to get him untangled, and the next thing I know, Dutch Mantell's down, and the match is disqualified. I wanted to beat the clown.
I guess the camera's a liar, right? I guess the camera tells
why
1,000
don't you take
lies.
that silly hat off?
Why don't you knock it off, Daddy? Why don't you knock it off? Let me say one thing. Wait a minute. Let me get my say in. I was a Southern champion before, and I could be the Southern champion again. Now, you had Terry Taylor beat. You had him beat, and there's no need to keep on pounding.
Randy West, who was directing the show in 1983 for Channel 5? Any idea?
I'm sorry I missed that.
I was asking Randy West who was directing this show from TV5.
Tell me nothing, Dundee. You say all your friends turned against you. I didn't turn against you because I was never your friend in the first place. To start off with, now don't give me no lip and don't talk back to me, because I know what I'm talking about.
Boy, not big boy.
Come on, you guys.
You know, I used to like you, Dundee. I used to like you, man.
Don't start fighting.
Hey, you know what I think about it? What? You really want to know what I think about it?
I'll stand here and wait for your answer, Mantell. I really want to know what you think about the whole situation, Jack.
Come on, Jack.
That's what I think about it.
All right, well, you guys settle it for me, please.
Just let me tell you something. I hope you're as bad as you think you are, Mantel, because you'll never win this belt, Daddy, and I bet my life on it. You bet you will. Yeah, well, I'm going to, Jack. You just climb in there, and you can get a shot at it. Okay, baby, all right?
All right, okay, Jack. You got the match coming.
He got a little hot, didn't he?
Yep, he did, in fact.
I got another cigar here. It don't matter to me, man.
Well, I know one
Let me
thing.
say one thing right now. Dundee, you climb in the ring, buddy. You've got my attention, and you got me red hot right now. You done talked about my hometown, done talked about everything, Dundee, so it's going to come down to me against you, baby. The best man's going to win. And we're going to have a fight, Dundee, and you're not going to win it, Jack.
Okay, Dutch Mantell, and that's going to be a scrap when Mantell and Dundee meet. You can bet on that. We're ready for the action in the ring right now. Bobby Fulton climbing.
That's how you draw money, Michael.
Indeed. And, you know, if you notice, they didn't get into a fisticuffs. They didn't get into an altercation. They got into a verbal altercation. But that just builds the heat. That builds the credibility of what is about to happen. That's an excellent. Putting this together, I mean, this isn't done by accident. This isn't done by people that don't know where they're doing. I mean, these men in Memphis Championship Wrestling, in Memphis Wrestling for all those years, are masterminds at psychology, ring psychology. And that takes an extra special wrestler to pull that off. And I think Memphis had a bunch of them back then.
Do you agree with the fact I'm kind of rebranding how we do stuff instead of throwing 10 million things about at people? I just want to kind of milk out the story, and that's what we're going to do. Normally we would have had 13 minutes left in the show. I just think we want people to watch next Tuesday night to see what happened in that Dutch Mantell match and build up to the Jerry Lawler Bill Dundee match. And so I think we're in the right direction, Michael.
I agree with it. I like this format a lot better because we're not rushing into things. We're not, you know, in this world that we're in today, everything has to happen now. I had to take our stepdaughter, our adopted daughter, to get a new iPhone today. And bless her heart, she was just all excited about it. But I was just telling her to temper her emotions while time took time. And you know how you go to the AT&T store, you'll spend 3 hours. I mean, come on, they take forever. And it was a simple thing. But it's just one of those things that I think people today, as they watch TV, as they watch movies, as they watch football games, I mean, look at the most popular offense in a football game today. It's a spread. It's wide open. It's action every play. It's, you know, what happened to the 3 yards in the cloud of dust that we all used to? What happened to defense in football? And I think it is more so a testament to our times that we're living in. So when we take a show like this and we slow it down and we break it down and we dissect it and we watch it, maybe watch it a second time to get the full effect, I think we're sort of teaching people the patience of what these wrestlers went through when they were developing the storyline. And I'm not going to knock either of the majors right now, but both of them have got their storylines on warp speed. And I think they miss out on so much. And I think it causes the audience to be conditioned to, if you don't have it right now, and show me what you're just trying to do, I think sooner or later it'll come back to haunt the sport of professional wrestling.
What do you have planned for this weekend and all the way up to next Tuesday night, Michael?
Well, first of all, this weekend I'm actually I had an opportunity to go visit my partner Steve Sudbury, who is recovering from heart surgery. He is doing much better. Was thrilled to death. I spent several hours with him on Sunday, and his wife had been trying to get him outside. It was a pretty day to walk his driveway. He lives in Mel Tillis's old house over in the North Main historic section of Gallatin. And I got him out of the chair and we got out and we walked. It's just like we used to walk and talk football and walk and talk things. And it was, I think he enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed it. And then we got the news last night. In fact, Steve was the one that called me to tell me that Ronnie Bledsoe had died. And so my plan Saturday, Jane has asked me if I'll come up and sit with Steve. She's got to go to Jackson. Their oldest granddaughter has just gotten an accommodation. To the U.S. Naval Academy, which is
Fantastic.
fabulous. And she's going down for that. Steve, of course, can't travel. So she said, would you mind coming up and sitting and watching TV? Well, I said, I'll watch football with Steve till the cows come home. So that's my Saturday. My Saturday is probably to leave out here about 6:30 in the morning and go up there and let Jane leave about 8 and hang out with Steve until about 6 in the evening. We'll watch some college football and talk some radio and just enjoy our and I think we both need that as not only friends but business partners and some two people that have a lot of affinity for each other. It's going to be good to spend a whole day with the old boy, and actually I'm looking forward to that. But one thing though I do want to say, and you guys know my faith, that 2 weeks ago I was at Notre Dame and I got to do Chuck Ellis. I drug a good old Southern Baptist into a Catholic basilica and something I'd always wanted to do. Was on my bucket list, and I always wanted to do. Never got a chance to do it, so we did it, and he enjoyed it. He said it was the high point of his weekend, and it was certainly beautiful. And then last Sunday, I had to go up to Nashville, and I told Melanie, I said, I'm going to leave early. I think I'm going to just go to Mass in Nashville. I went to the cathedral over by Vanderbilt, where I went for all 4 years I was in college, and the bishop said Mass, and I got to say hello to him and chat with him. So the past 2 weeks, I've been at really big churches on Sunday, and coming back to my little church over in Colma. It's still a pretty big church, but coming back is going to be, I guess, culture shock. But I've really enjoyed that part of my spiritual life, if you would, the past couple of Sundays. But I hate the weather's turning cold. I'm not a big cold weather guy, so that I'm sort of not looking forward to the cold weather.
When do you have to go to your friend's funeral?
We haven't heard the details. His two daughters were making arrangements today. And in fact, when I get off the air here at 9 o'clock, I'm going to call Steve and see if he's heard anything. I've not seen or gotten an email. I was bombarded with, I had 14 phone calls this morning before 11 o'clock regarding this. And but I'm looking into, when that's going to happen.
We're going to get it on out of here. We'll be back next Monday for the Power Hour. Next Tuesday, more of the Dundee Lawler heel turn. Thank you, Michael. Love you, man.
Love you, man. I thank you, Randy, and hopefully next week. He wasn't here today because he had his judo lesson tonight, but he said, Papa, I'll be there next week, so tell Randy I'll be there. So he knows you by name. He's starting to call you by Randy all the time, so I think that's pretty funny.
That is great. For Michael St. John and Memphis Wrestling Team L's, we miss Pat and we miss Chris. Great show, everybody says. See you later. For Michael, I'm Randy. Good night, everybody.
Talking Memphis Wrestling with Randy Hill and special guests.